Alright, this is a primer on PSO2 drop rate, specifically about part destruction. Well, I'm not going to go in depth about part destruction, but just about misconception here. So this is in part brought on by Animano's controversial video, where he stated that Profound Darkness's invo unit drop rate was affected by part destruction, but also about like personal experience I had when playing on the Ultimate Lillipa map. We were fighting a Falcleon, which is the big armored dog with swords on his arms and legs. For those who don't know, you can break those little swords and his wings, which cause him to stagger, and that will give you a burst opportunity, as well as breaking the wings causes him, when he does his little spinning tackle attack, to be knocked over and cause another stagger. So we were fighting that boss, and we didn't destroy all the parts. So someone decided to say, hey, you guys didn't destroy all the parts. I don't remember how he said it, but that was the gist of his message. And I think he made a mention to something like, hey, it increases rare drop, or something like that. But the way he said it, I guess, was passive-aggressive, or somebody didn't agree with it, because they went out and said, hey, the weapon drops aren't affected by part destruction, which is what it says here on the JP wiki. Drop lottery for the main bot when you're farming weapons. It's for you look at the main body, which is just a regular kill, and then for part destruction, it's armor or your units. Down here, it'll say that site destruction will drop in rare lottery will be performed to each part, but then it says here drops according to the main body are not drawn by part destruction. So yeah, you don't get weapon drops from part destruction unless those weapons are tied to those parts. So, but what happened was that two guys got into an argument, and they're basically slinging insults as your typical internet flame war between just two people. So I tried to interject and say, hey, there's evidence for the other guy saying that it's main body only. And I told him, hey, cool it. You're being a little bit, you're killing the vibes here. And he just said, NA isn't like JP, and that did not agree with me. That was probably the worst argument I've heard for this, and I'm going to say why, because this is a misconception that I feel like, although it was only for that one guy in my, like, maybe 20 different MPAs that I ran. Like, I know 20 sounds low, but it was like 20 MPAs each running for like 6 hours, so it's a lot more than you think. It's a lot more than you think. And I feel like this is a misconception just brought on by all the speculation that's gone in the PSO2 community about, you know, drop rates and things like that. And people trying to say, oh, you need to do this ritual to do things. It's in part spurred on by Animano's his Profound Darkness guide. So the reason I want to say this is why it's wrong, but is that they're changing. So the reason it's really there is because not only about Animana's video, but also because there's been some meddling with the drop tables on NA side. I know, for example, in JP, there was for the Baron Blossom, specifically Baron Blossom, don't look up for the Eternal Darkness, or whatever the current version of Profound Darkness JP is, because the drop tables are different there, but our NA version for Baron Blossom doesn't include the Inva weapon set, but the JP version does. So we know there's some meddling when it comes to weapon drops from drop tables, and we also know that units do drop from part destruction, as per here, and from running Gun-Ginagam for hours, as you've probably done for Psyche units. But so there's some evidence to suggest that, hey, maybe they've changed this thing, this sort of. But I want to argue that they shouldn't really be changing this. This is PSO2 NA is supposed to be a localization of PSO2, so they're going to make changes based on our region, not two changes to base formulas, like how boss rare drops are determined. And parts of those localization goes into changing the events. We got those Independence Day events, which don't appear on JP because they don't have an Independence Day. Or no, they have an independent. I bet they do have an Independence Day. Or no, they don't. I'm getting confused. My history is not. Memory of history is not up to snuff, but they have some other day that they celebrate that NA probably won't get. But we have our glory badges, which greatly sped up our Circu and Ray farming. And we had that special event that goes on, but that's mostly for localization. They decided, hey, why don't we have an event for this big event that occurs in NA? And that was one of the localization decisions, and they decided to go ahead with it. Because localization is more than just translating. Translating is not equal to localization. There's a discussion there's a different kind of discussion. But their job isn't to meddle with these small, very basic, very integral parts to how progression works in this game. They're not going to be messing with this. And if they do, I'd be very, very concerned. And to sort of relate this, I play FGO, and FGO has a JP and an NA version. So in that game you have drop rates for materials, and these drop rates aren't really known. People play the game very, very, very often, and they have AP refreshes so you can do multiple tests, and eventually through collecting a whole bunch of different tests, they eventually get very close to the drop rate. And when NA gets when NA gets JP's events, usually people will post the JP drop tables and drop rates, and people will use those. So, as a hypothetical scenario, what if NA FGO had this saying PSO2 NA is different from PSO2 JP for basic rear drop principle calculations. It'd be like saying that all that work done on FGO JP is useless because FGO NA is different, or it's a different game. And if that were true, I'd go straight to JP because you have no clue what they've done. Because if it were part, like to relate it again, if it were part destruction, that'd be like if in FGO NA you had some sort of like ranking on your battle that was invisible to you, and that affected your material drop rate, and you don't know what that base drop rate is. It could be equal to JP and you're actually getting more drops, or it's less than JP's and your extra drop rate either gets it over that or equal or just close to equal that JP drop rate. And if that were the case, I'd just leave FGO and NA. I'd go straight to JP and get a guide, or get a FGO JP translation guide, or just skip the story and read about it from people who know Japanese. But and if that applied to PSO2 NA, where we now have magically different rear drop rates that we now no longer know how they work, I just go straight to PSO2 JP and forget all of that. We're gonna get New Genesis anyways on JP, so why bother with NA? Why bother with NA if I have no clue what the rare drop rate is now that they have all these little tweaks and fixes behind the scenes that could mean that I'm getting way less 13 stars than I could have gotten just investing the same amount of time in PSO2 JP. And that's even more integral to an MMO than Fate is. Like Fate, you can just log on and roll for your favorite character. For PSO2, it's about your time investment. Am I getting the best gear for my time? So if they mess with something as basic and integral to the game as that, I'd just leave. Yeah, I just leave. Tweaker already supports cross NA to JP. I'm going to download JP now. Bye-bye. But the point is, I feel like this is mostly fueled by speculation from the Animana video, from people interpreting how rear drops have worked on other enemies to now these enemies, and these people don't read this page. You can get to this page by going to PSO2 swiki.jp and scroll all the way down to the various data section. Go to summary of drop conditions. You can find all this data here. You can find out how rare drop rates work. You just have to get over the barrier of Google Translate not translating things in a very intuitive way. If you can it takes a little bit of time for you to adapt to how Google Translate works, but this is all being fueled by wild speculation. And I feel like this is something that shouldn't really be squashed in the PSO2 community. It's good to speculate on new updates, and PSO2 NG gonna bring? What's gonna be up in the next few updates? We have we have the roadmap that, but maybe we'll get some stuff early, maybe we won't, who knows. But there's also the Shiny Stone Shop updates that we should be getting soon. But to be speculative about something that's as integral to the game as this really shows either a lack of confidence from the PSO2 community for PSO2 NA to do a good job, or is done so just because of hype culture, and people wanting to get the best rare drop for their time, which is you should want that. You should want, like, oh, I need that 900% rare drop rate. I heard there was a cap, but I'm pretty sure that's speculation too. I don't see anything on the JP Wiki saying it's capped. But yeah, I feel like it's all just speculation, and that if the PSO2 community isn't careful, it's just going to be all wild speculation. It's basically going to be the equivalent of, I hate to bring this up, but like the one time those Nintendo fans were speculating about mainline Nintendo games at a conference specifically designed for side projects and non-Nintendo mainline games coming to the Switch, which is funny. Or just simply misguided, but yeah, I feel like if we're going to be speculating, it should at least be educated from sites like these. It shouldn't be so wild and so, like, out of place. And I feel like NA is much more prey to these wild speculations than maybe JP people are. I don't know. Someone has to contact me who lives in Japan to really talk about this. But yeah, if you still believe that site destruction, these part destructions can affect your 13-star drop rates, go find an MPA who will do it with you, who will say, hey, yeah, we'll do part destruction, we'll try it out, we'll do it, go find your community who will let you do that. This is an MMO, it shouldn't really be that hard. Go find an alliance, go find alliance mates who will let you do that, go find maybe a few randoms who'll say, oh yeah, I'll be on with this. Well, it's really just a ritual, and like I'm gonna equate this to FGO has. It's like summoning rituals. They don't really increase drop rate, but some people do. I know there's one JP account that does rolls while watching the FGO trailer intros, and he gets five stars on most of his rolls while doing that ritual, which is nice. But yeah, if you're gonna do that ritual, find a party who will do that with you. Don't go into randoms expecting the same level of coordination. Just don't. You're gonna ruin the vibes if you do. Yeah. So basically, do your research, and if you deem it speculation and you still believe in it, just find people who agree with how you want the NPA to go, and form a party with them. Don't go to randoms looking for the same level of coordination that you want. Alright? If this blows up, if this eventually blows up, if y'all want me to just read PSO2 wiki information, I'm down to do that. I can create a catalog of PSO2 wiki information for everyone. with my interpretation, of course, because, you know, the translation. Alright.